Holy moly, everybody. It is another weekly roundup already, and I want to go ahead and just jump right in this week because we have got a lot of ground to cover. Yes, time is still playing tricks on me, but Donald Trump has already been in office now for 18 weeks, which means he's got 190 weeks left to go, and if you are counting down the days, it is 1,331 days until hopefully he will voluntarily remove himself from the White House. Now, of course, the weekly roundup is the part in the week where we kind of gather up a whole bunch of different clips that don't necessarily touch on any particular topic, but it kind of gives us a way to catch up on anything that we may have missed. Hopefully, we'll have a laugh or two. And I want to go ahead and start off with this clip of RFK Jr., who is now just kind of walking back his claims that we are going to know everything we need to know about autism in just a few months' time. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
You said by September we will know what has caused the autism epidemic and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
We'll have some of the information to get the most solid information. It will probably take us another 6 months.
Okay, so parents should not expect to know what causes autism by September anymore.
We'll see. We're going to, as I said, we're going to replicate some of the studies that have already been done that look like sound studies, and we'll know a lot from those, and then we'll know a lot more afterward.
I mean, what does that even mean? You first told us that by September we are going to know everything that we needed to know about autism, and now you're coming out and saying, oh, well, in September we might have enough information to start looking at more information, and then maybe, hopefully, we'll be able to replicate some of these studies, but then it might take another 6 months after that. Am I following this correctly? And why is it that every time the Trump administration puts out some sort of promise, it's always 2 weeks, it's always 2 weeks, it's always 2 weeks? I mean, Donald Trump came out and promised his health care bill 2 weeks at a time, 2 weeks at a time. I mean, it is all so pathetic. He just has no understanding about how we study these very complex issues, especially when you're talking about something that is as complex as something like autism. And then he comes out there and makes these absurd promises anyways that he knows he can't meet. Let's go ahead and move on to this clip of Mark Pocan coming out and saying the quiet part out loud, saying that many of these senators flipped their votes for very bad reasons.
I had heard there were 4 senators that wanted to vote against some of these awful secretary cabinet appointment nominees who didn't, because it wasn't that they got death threats, because unfortunately we do. That's part of what I guess we sign up for. But their family members were getting death threats and they just didn't want to stand up for it. Well, unless you grow a spine and stick together, that's how we win. Otherwise, you let the nuts take over.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we are seeing. We are seeing the nuts take over. The MAGA movement has consumed the Republican Party. All of the normal people, they are gone. And to think that you have senators flipping their votes because the MAGA lunatics are so insane that they are issuing death threats against their own kind. I mean, we just like crossed over that line, right? Death threats should not be appropriate. No time, no place, especially against members of Congress. But this is what the Donald Trump of America has done to us, right? This MAGA movement is violent. They have no problems issuing these types of threats if they think it's going to get Daddy Trump what Daddy Trump wants. That's what this all boils down to. Let's go ahead and move on to Brian Kilmeade. He's a little surprised that maybe a little fact slipped through on Fox News. See if you can catch it.
Absolutely, and really starting in January of 2024, our recruiting numbers substantially picked up. We deployed more recruiters to the field. We were able to tell our story better.
Rear Admiral, thanks so much for having us. Right now, I want to go to the U.S. Navy band. I believe it's Anchors Away. Take it away, guys.
So did you guys catch it? Recruiting numbers for the military started to tick back up in 2024. But what have we continued to hear from people over at Fox News, people in the MAGA movement? They said that Donald Trump, he's the one who caused all of this uptick in military recruitment. No, actually, that started under Joe Biden. And I think Brian Kilmeade was a bit surprised to actually hear that piece of information because he lives in the MAGA echo chamber. And he's probably a little bit worried that a fact like that was actually slipping through the ether right there on Fox News. I find it absolutely hilarious, and thanks for decoding Fox News for pulling up that clip. Let's go ahead and move on to Laura Ingraham, who is just real pissed off that Scott Pelley, I believe is who she's commenting on, about his commencement speech that we looked at this week. See what she has to say about that.
There's nothing worse than someone who pretends to be persecuted while ignoring real persecution, or pretends to be the keeper of the truths when associated with a network that did everything it could to protect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
These people are absolutely insane. They continue to say that people like 60 Minutes or CBS, they did everything they could to protect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Why are you pretending to be persecuted when there's real persecution? Are you serious? Donald Trump is rounding up people without any due process and shipping them to gulags down in El Salvador. He's rounding up students and taking away their visas if they're not ideologically aligned with the MAGA movement. Who is actually doing the persecuting here? Laura Ingraham? And to have Scott Pelley do a commencement speech that calls some of this shit out was actually the courageous thing to do. He is correctly calling out the persecution of this authoritarian regime. Nothing wrong with that. Thought we liked the free speech here in America. But I guess if you're speaking out against this fascist freak or the fascist administration, I guess it's not okay. That's what I'm getting from her. Let's go ahead and move on to Dana Perino, who is also commenting on this commencement speech.
Does Wake Forest want this speech? You think this is the audience for this?
Yeah.
Those kids are sitting there going, I just worked my butt off for 4 years. I want to go to the bar. I have a party to go to. Let's get this show on the road. And why can't the commencement address be, guess what? You guys are going to do great. Here's my top 5 pieces of advice. You know what? I'll cut it down to 3 because I know you want to go get a beer. Here's 1, 2, 3. Good job.
Is she really levying this criticism against Scott Pelley? Did she actually listen to the whole commencement speech? Because I did. And it was kind of a call to action, saying, hey, your country needs you at this time. We are seeing an authoritarian takeover by this administration, and many of our rights are under attack. It was a call to arms. It was a call to something bigger than themselves. So I would actually say that it was quite inspirational. But to levy that criticism after Donald Trump just got done giving the West Point commencement speech, and he was rambling on about trophy wives and all of this other garbage, it's quite rich. The double standard is always existing with these people. They will never call out their own side. It is absolutely pathetic. Let's go ahead and move on to Marty McCary, who is just how he wants to investigate these people and vaccines. See if you can catch it here.
Well, as you know, Will, hundreds of thousands of Americans have claimed that they have been injured by the COVID vaccine. And so we've got to listen. It takes a lot of time to do a proper analysis that hasn't been done to date, and it's got to go into factored into the equation.
So if hundreds of thousands of people or thousands of people come out and say that, I don't know, what, hot dogs cause liver cancer, do we just go ahead and start investigating that because people said so? Just because people came out and said, oh, I've been injured by the vaccine after they've been brainwashed by the right-wing media ecosystem is not the correct way to open analysis against the COVID-19 vaccine. These things are rigorously studied already, but these people want you to believe that the COVID-19 vaccine isn't safe. We're actually going to roll back some of the recommendations because we think it's not safe because we got all these vaccine skeptic lunatics in our government right now. These people are absolutely insane. This is not the way that we should go about doing scientific research. Just because people say something doesn't mean it's true. And to think that we have not studied these issues is also quite absurd. These people just have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. Let's go ahead and move on to Caroline Levitt, who says that we actually need more plumbers and tradespeople and less LGBTQ stuff.
And the president is more interested in giving that taxpayer money to trade schools, in programs, in state schools, where they are promoting American values, but most importantly, educating the next generation based on skills that we need in our economy and our society. Apprenticeships, electricians, plumbers. We need more of those in our country and less LGBTQ graduate majors from Harvard University.
What's an apprenticeship? These people are just so gross. And what is an LGBTQ graduate from Harvard University? Is that an actual degree, or are you just pulling shit right out of your ass here? To think that we need more plumbers and more tradespeople, I can agree with you there. And I think that we should open paths for young men or anybody else who wants to go after those types of careers. I think we should open those paths to those people. But to think that we don't need doctors and veterinarians and research people and physicists and all of that, I mean, that is just so short-sighted. And to think that you're going to take away all of this medical research funding away from Harvard and then try to divert that to trade schools, again, it's just short-sighted. We need all of these types of careers and opportunities in our society. Should we maybe open up more opportunities for the tradespeople? I would probably agree with you there. But that doesn't mean we need to take it away from medical research, because that is also very, very important. I just really don't like these people, man. They just don't seem to think about anything at all. Let's go ahead and move on to Comer here, who is basically saying that the last year or so of Joe Biden's presidency, it's not valid anymore.
So much of what was done at the end of the Biden administration was done by executive order using that auto pen. We don't believe that would be valid.
Yeah.
And that's important because Donald Trump's in court for a lot of things that he campaigned on, a lot of draining the swamp type issues, and they're being held up because of these executive orders.
Every president uses the auto pen. Donald Trump has even come out and admitted that he uses the auto pen. That doesn't mean that just because the auto pen was used in the last year of Joe Biden's presidency means that everything is just null and void. And to also go on to say that Donald Trump is being blocked in the courts due to Biden's executive orders that he supposedly signed with this auto pen. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I guess James Comer, if he's good at one thing, it's connecting all of these dots that have absolutely no connection with each other, and then he tries to tie them all together into one big conspiracy. I mean, did you guys see how he investigated the Biden crime family? I mean, that was an absolute joke all on its own, and we're seeing the same thing here. Let's go ahead and move on to Jessica Tarlov, who's talking about how Trump may be accessible to the media, but is just spewing bullshit all of the time. We should all remember this.
Most importantly, he sits down for these interviews, and I think Biden should have been more accessible. Maybe we would have had a competitive primary if he had been more accessible. But he does these interviews, and then he says, I don't know, or I'm not sure. Like, Kristen Welker asked him, do you need to uphold the Constitution? I don't know. Ask a lawyer. Are you sending migrants to Libya? I don't know. Ask Homeland Security. You just announced a new nominee for Surgeon General who didn't graduate from med school. Why? Bobby likes her. I don't know her. You have the power to bring back Abrego Garcia. I don't make that decision. Lawyers do.
You were arguing on behalf of him right now.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that is what the criticism is of him. He may be in front of you, but that doesn't mean that he's not spewing utter BS.
But
yeah, and she's exactly right. And I think it would behoove us to remember this and start spreading this message far and wide. We continue to hear from the MAGA movement that Donald Trump, he's the most transparent. He's the most transparent president that we've ever seen. He's giving media interviews all the time, except every time he steps in front of that camera, he is spewing so much bullshit that nobody can keep track of it all. He makes up numbers. He talks about $1 trillion, $5 trillion, $7 trillion of investment from Qatar. Says that, we're at that plane. It's not going to Trump himself. It's going to the military. We all know that that's a load of shit. I mean, Donald Trump may be out there in front of the cameras all the time because he's trying to put on a show for the American people. He's trying to make it appear as though he is getting all of these different things done. But in reality, it's all a facade. Donald Trump has passed the least amount of legislation out of any president over going back decades. Literally, he just likes to sit around his resolute desk. He likes to sign his executive orders, makes himself feel big, bad, and tough like a king. And then nothing actually gets done. Besides all of this cruelty and this depravity that we are seeing out of the Trump Gestapo. It is absolutely grotesque. And just because you're in front of the cameras doesn't mean that you are providing value to the American people. And in fact, you're doing the exact opposite. And I'm going to go ahead and show you this last clip because I think, what's his name? Dan Coe, I believe. He's talking about jailing the poor while letting the wealthy free. And I think this is one of the key messages that we need to continue to push, that we need to continue to point out about Donald Trump.
I think this is a larger pattern of Donald Trump selling out the little guy in favor of the big guy. If you don't have the resources, he'll send you to CCOT without due process. But if you have resources, you'll get out of jail for free, right? If you're a minor who works hard, he'll cut the program at HHS that takes care of minors while standing on stage and saying that he's for minors. Or he'll give a pardon to a reality TV star with resources instead of helping people who need a tax cut. This is just part of a larger trend with Donald Trump, who will always do things for the wealthy while also claiming he's for working class people, but doing absolutely nothing to back it up. As a matter of fact, undercutting them in the process.
Yeah, and this is exactly the correct correct thing to point out. And we have to continue to point this out to people all across the country. This is what Donald Trump is all about. Donald Trump is only about himself and maybe his wealthy buddies. We've seen him accept money for these pardons. You saw that mom pay $1 million to attend a Trump fundraiser. Her son got out of prison. You've seen MAGA loyalists. They're getting let out of prison. And then what are they doing right now in Congress? They're trying to pass their big despicable bill. And what is it doing? It's cutting millions of people off of their health care. It's cutting millions of people off of their nutrition assistance. All for what? To give the wealthiest among us huge tax breaks. That is what this Republican Party is about. That is what Donald Trump is about. He campaigned all day long about how he was going to help the average American. He was going to help the normal guy. He was going to help the downtrodden. But just look at his actions. Look at what he is actually doing. Look at what this Republican Party is actually doing. They're not helping your everyday American. They are helping the wealthy, the wealthiest among us. And it is absolutely grotesque. So I do think we need to continue to point this out and help people realize that Donald Trump speaks one game, but then delivers on another. He's lying to your face nearly every single time he steps in front of that camera and tries to play a king on TV. So those are the clips that I had for you guys this week. I know we covered a lot of ground. It's been a chaotic week for me. Lots of stuff going on. Donald Trump's tariffs are getting shut down and just a whole bunch of things going on. I guess it's good that we can wind down at the end of each week with these weekly roundups. I got a little bit of feedback that I read through this week. You guys appear to like these segments, so I will continue to do them, of course, until you guys maybe say otherwise, although I do enjoy having this weekly roundup at the end of each week. So, like I said, guys, those are the clips I had for you this week. I hope everybody has a good weekend, and I will see you guys next week. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just runs cover for Donald Trump every single day. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to smash that subscribe button. It is free. And if you guys want to learn about the string of corrupt pardons that Donald Trump is just pretty much handing out on a whim at this point, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.